I met Champagne at a convent called My Mother's House, a foster home for children whose mothers are in prison. In this film, which was her idea, she has chosen to tell her story.
My name is Champagne, and I'm 14 years old. I live in a convent, which is called My Mother's House. It sounds funny, but some people are like very nosy. Where do you live? I live at my mother's house. You live in your mother's house? Yeah, I live in my mother's house. So it's kind of like a smart aleck joke. The nuns represent, like mother and father. Well, mothers, a bunch of mothers, can't say mother and father. But it was like one big family. We eat as a family. We sit down as a family. We pray as a family. We clean as a family. In our house, they give us enough responsibility to know that we will take care of ourselves in any situation. We get privileges just like everybody else. We're allowed to have boyfriends. We can go out. We get allowance every month. We get it taken away if we don't do our chores. It's just like living with your mother. I'm very close with the nuns, The nuns have really stuck their head out for me. They encourage me to basically be what I can be, They're God's blessing on me because without them, where would I be now in a crummy foster home where no one cares about me?
Champagne, why don't you tell us about your childhood? Part 1.
Part 1. Well, part 1 was like the worst. I think that was the dark side of my whole life, My mother was a drug addict. She never really paid attention to me, so I would switch from house to house. And very, very rarely would I stay with her. I never was cleaned. I never was fed, so I was kind of malnourished. If you look at me now and then you look at me before, you're like, this is the same girl, because I was like as skinny as a toothpick now. Forget about it, but I never really took a bath, so you can imagine, Unless I went to my grandma's house when my grandma decided, my grandma was like, yo, we gotta get you out of these clothes. It was a very horrible side of my life. When my mother went to prison, which was where I was about 6 years old, I lived with my grandmother and my life changed dramatically. I went to school, I was fed, I was clean, I had clothes. My grandma made sure I was nourished and I was clean. I was, that I had manners, and she taught me how you respect people. She basically taught me how to be civilized, which I wasn't when I was much younger. My grandmother became very ill, so she couldn't really look after me. She did her best, but she couldn't really do it anymore because she wasn't as young as she was before. She couldn't follow up behind me, make sure I was going to school. So then she wanted to put me in a safe environment where she knows that I will have someone look after me and make sure that I'm clean or stuff like that. She just wanted someone really look after me. It's basically why I'm in my mother's house.
Your mother went to prison and you ended up with your grandmother. Why did she go to prison?
Because she had killed someone. It wasn't murder. I can't say it was cold-blooded murder. It was self-defense, actually. She had stabbed this man because he was threatening her life. And at the time, she was high, so it was either her life or his. And when you're high, you just go crazy. So, and she had confessed. She had confessed because my grandma always brought her up as honesty. You be very honest. Don't lie to nobody. I think her time was very minimal compared to a person's life, because you can't bring back the dead, and you can't make the living pay for what they've taken, because there's no time on a life. You could give someone 1,000 years and it still won't make up for a human life. Since she was in prison, she's made a great comeback, She finished high school. She wants to go for college. She's got her degree in beauty school. I mean, right now, I think jail is the best place for her. I mean, I feel bad because she's in prison, yeah, but I would rather her in prison than dead, which she could have been if she would have still stood in the track that she was in. But prison, I think, changed her life, and now she wants to be a peer counselor and help other children to make sure that they don't go in the same way, you know? And she's made a dramatic change. You know, some women just sit in their cell and mope, well, I'm in here, so I ain't getting out, so I ain't gonna do nothing for myself. My mother made sure that she did something for herself so that when it was her time, that she will be prepared and she'll know what she wants in life. She wants to really make a difference. She wants to give back what she's taken, you know? Even though you can't, but she wants to try.
How do you feel toward your mother? Obviously, you must resent the first 6 years of your life.
Yes, I do.
Can she ever make them up to you? Never mind killing a person or whatever.
Well, no. Basically, she cannot make it up because... And even if she could, I wouldn't want her to. I don't want her to make that up. I want her to try to make my life and her life much better, you know? She's already missed half of my life as it is. And you can't make them up, but you could try to do the best that you can with what you have. She knows I've suffered great hurt and resentment, basically. But, you know, I love my mother. And if I want her to know that there's someone out there for her that could stand by her and be there for her whenever, you know? I don't want her to feel that she's coming out into an empty world where it's just her, because that's not how it is. She brought me into this world, so forever I'm going to be hers. And I want her to know that I'm not going to turn my back on her at all. Mistakes happen. Everybody makes mistakes. It's just that her mistake was very fatal, but everybody makes mistakes sometimes. So, you know, I can't really condemn her because God didn't give me the ability to judge anybody. We're both human. That's my outlook.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to go up to a prison and visit up there? I don't think most people have any idea of what it's like.
Well,
particularly visits to your mom.
Well, a typical visit, let's see. A 45-minute ride, very boring, but nice to look at the countryside. The scenery is beautiful. Then what happens is that they have a search and seizure process in which you have to empty all your belongings out of your pocket and walk through a metal detector to make sure you're not carrying anything. But the metal detectors are not very accurate for one reason, because people still sneak in with drugs, so they're not very accurate, I must say. Then you go up and then you wait, because my mother has to be called down from her cell block. Then she has to go downstairs, and then she has to get searched to make sure she comes out exactly the way she went in. So it's basically they want to make sure, you know, that she don't come in with any access stuff, you know. But that's what it's basically like, you know. Then we sit down and we talk for about an hour or so.
What's the space like where you're visiting your mom? We've all seen movies where you've got this glass partition.
No, it's
and
not
things
like
that.
No. Those are like the penitentiaries or something. Because it's not like this. My mother's in maximum security, so you don't have that kind. You can hug your mother, you can hold hands, you can show affection. See, my mother, everybody knows me in there. See, that's how I'm famous. And I walk in, oh, hi, you know, I'll be saying hi, you know. And then she starts making jokes. My mother's a funny woman. I mean, she's really funny. I can see where I get my personality from. I inherited all her traits. Yes, I did. She said I look like my father, whoever he is. But anyway.
Was she married to your father?
Nope. Not even close. Not even close.
Your grandmother is your mother's mother, then?
Yep. All I got is women in my life. No males. Oh, my cousin, that's the only man. He's my father, my brother, my uncle. He's everybody, you know. I associate him because he's my first cousin and we're very close. I really want to do something with my life since my life hasn't been all that great. So I want to try to make sure that it doesn't happen. I don't want to follow in the same footsteps, you know. I want to try to be my own person and make sure that my name stands out, you know.
What do you want to do?
Well, basically, because I think I have a future in dancing, because I like to dance. Can't dance ballet, so don't even look at me in that field, like hip-hop or something. But I really want to be a business manager. Anything with business. I want to major in anything with business purpose, like marketing or something, or become a lawyer, criminal justice lawyer, or an astronaut.
4, 3, 2,
Walk on the moon. The first one to walk on the moon.
You once told me that you felt a lot of the kids that were in the same kind of situation felt that they were totally alone in the world.
Well, yeah, because at first I felt kind of alienated. No one ever knew. No one ever knew how I really felt, but I always felt like I was the only one in the predicament. I always thought I'm the only one with the mother in jail, but I never spoke to it about my mother because I was afraid of how she would take it. And until I went to my mother's house, I thought I was the only one going through this. And I found the girls in my mother's house were going through 10 times more than I've been through in my life. So I was like, hey, I have a family that stands behind me, you know. I still have my grandmother that I can go to, but the rest of them wouldn't really have anywhere to go.
Do you have any stories that you want to tell? Or do you have any advice to kids who are in the similar situation?
Well, something that it took me a while to understand, and that what people taught me is whenever there's a good side to life, there's also a bad side, and when there's a bad side to life, there's also a good side to life. And to me, I think my life could be a perfect example of that. When you think about it, I had a rotten childhood, but then in return, I'm gonna have a great teenage life. You know, just because your life was crummy, don't mean that you can't go on. That should make you want to succeed even more, you know, to become somebody, to show people that just because you had a bad life doesn't mean it ruined you forever. And I just want, other kids out there to understand that they're not alone, that there will always be someone in a worse position in which you are in. And I could have been in a foster home where no one cared about me. It's that God, He wanted to show me that okay, so this happened to you. So now you should be destined to become someone great. And if my cousin can do it, that's my idol. If he could do it, I can do it. And I think my mother is gonna be really proud of me. And I just hope other kids out there will have the guts if they're in trouble in some kind of way to go to someone who's very reliable. I know you hear them in every commercial, go to someone you trust. But for real, if you're living in a crummy situation where your parents abuse us or something, don't keep it to yourself. Let someone know. Let someone know and try to help you. Because if you keep your eyes shut too long, they'll never open them again. So my advice is, don't look for life, let life come to you. That's it.